I tell everybody that's my new birthday. 11/20 is my new birthday because a new life has been born. I get to do what I was born to do and move on.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Hanging Out with Successful Bar Exam Takers. And we have a great story from a great individual today who just got her Florida bar results. Elisabeth, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you very much. I am excited to be here.
This has got to be an incredible moment for you.
It is. It is a very incredible moment for me. It's still kind of shocking, to be honest. I have to get the ruler and line it up with the pass and the bar number and take pictures and download. So yes, it's been incredible, honestly.
Yeah, you've had quite a story to get here, and we're going to unpack it in a minute. But why don't we start a little bit with your background and where you got to, how you got to the point of taking the Florida bar back in October of 2020.
Okay. Yeah. So my background, I went to law school in 2009. That's when I began, August 2009. And I graduated in 2013, May. I was a non-traditional law student. I'm a little older than most law students, and I had 3 children as well. One was 12. I had a 12-year-old. At the time, they were 12, 9, and 1-year-old. And so I worked full-time at LexisNexis as an editor, and then I went to school part-time. I graduated in May 2013, and by the time I did, I was so exhausted. I think that I was just the recovery from those last 4 years was difficult. I had a hard time focusing on the bar exam for the July bar exam that year. I did try to take it. I did not take it. I wimped out. And then, so I started my legal law degree experience, holding a law degree with complete disappointment in myself, feeling not having accomplished 100% the goal that I set out to accomplish. And it was just the whole over my head for years. I did take it again in 2015. I took it for the first time in 2015 and did not pass. I was devastated. And then I took it again in 2017, did not pass. And I did not take it again for 4 years. I stayed quiet and I just lived with myself. And
let's talk about that for a little bit. A lot of people do that. They take the exam, they don't get a positive result, and they internalize it as something else. And then they're just almost, would you say you were frightened to take the exam?
I would say I was frightened, yes, but I was also, money was an issue as well, time, and a lot of other things went into it. I wouldn't say frightened. I would just say that I think really it was a psychological process where I wasn't ready personally for that responsibility is the only way I can really think about it. Because if something is really important to you, obviously you make time, you do it, you make it the priority. And it's true that you can do that even regardless of your circumstances. If there's a will, there's a way. I think I just really honestly was not ready to grow personally during those 4 years. And I was happy being kind of standing still, basically.
Yeah. So you took the time off, you took the 4 years, your kids are getting older, you're dealing with life and work and career. So what changed to make you think it's time to go back and try again to pass the exam?
Well, I never gave up on trying to. It was always in my mind to take it again. I just was waiting for the time to focus. But what really changed my mind was my friend Willie, who I went to law school with. He took the bar exam, I think, many times, and he had finally passed it in February of 2020. And he really encouraged me to take those first steps toward getting back into the studying process. And so that's kind of what really was the catalyst behind my commitment, but it was 100% commitment at one time. I didn't all happen at one time. It was first step, baby step. Okay, he did a bar coach. Okay, maybe I'll do that this time too. Let's find just trying to not convinced 100% that I was going to take the whole thing or take it at all, but just get back into it. Like, I'll just at least get back into the studying process. So
you took the exam in February of 2020.
Oh, no, he did. I didn't.
Okay. So in that point in time, then you decided to start aiming for what would have been the July 2020 Florida bar exam, right?
Yeah, about May I started, yes.
Okay. And you contacted us. And what led you to Celebration Bar Review?
Okay, so I was very impressed when I took the exam in 2017. I always look for other resources outside of the mainstream stuff. And I came across your multiple choice questions, the Celebrations multiple choice question book, basically. And I felt like your questions were so similar to Florida's multiple choice questions from what we had to study from anyway. And I had taken the exam before already once. And so I knew how horrible they are to answer. And so I really liked yours. I thought they were really good and they just were a good representation. And so that's how I came across Celebrations Bar Review. And this time around, I still had those books that I had purchased before for the 2017 exam. But this time around, I decided I wanted to get new versions and be up to date. And I did purchase the book, and I also purchased the essays. And then I started seeing other things that you were offering and realized you actually offered a bar review course. And so I was very interested in getting some exposure to that because I had already been through the other ones before in the past. And I felt like I needed to just do pretty much everything differently this time around so that I could have different results.
So you were in our basic coaching course and you were working through the syllabus and the study guide and preparing. And you're thinking to yourself, the exam is going to be given in July of 2020. Mm-hmm. Then what happened?
And then at the very beginning of July, the Florida Bar determined that it was not going to be given in July. It would be administered in August, and they also eliminated the MBE portion. So nice of them after.
That was a pretty crazy moment. And so now you switch and you think, okay, well, we're going to go a couple weeks after the bar exam and a little different format. And then 48 hours or so before that date, what happened?
The Florida Board of Bar Examiners canceled or postponed the exam due to the software program that had selected for administration of the exam remotely. And so they postponed it and to a date to be determined. So we didn't know when we were going to actually take it, but we did know we'd take it, didn't know when.
What was your reaction at that point, knowing that it was going to be postponed and ultimately it was postponed for about 8 weeks or so? What did that do to your study plan at that point?
Well, honestly, to be honest with you, I think it put me in a better position. I was able to study more and differently. And I think that it was an advantage for me, just put it that way, because of some of the things that I had been through over the summer already. I had to leave my home, I left Florida. Went to a 3-mile wide town to get some focus. And I really think that I didn't learn what was going to work for me until right before the initial August exam was supposed to be administered.
And we're going to talk about some of those hardships that you faced because they were pretty extraordinary. And I don't want to gloss over those, but I want to get the whole timeline for people that may not be familiar with it. So now you've got this extra time, you're starting to study. You said you were learning what it was that worked for you. Can you describe that for our audience?
Yes. I was learning the material, mastering the material through the mind mapping. That is what I really got a lot of benefit from. And I would recommend that for anything, to be honest. Even my, son who's in 6th grade, the mind maps can work for him and his organization. But it gave me a picture, and it also engaged me on a different level with the material. And it helped me look at it, just get a bird's eye view, but also really drill down into those other areas where it's like, oh, they're not going to test on that, or I don't need to know that. It's like, that is not true. They will do it. And these mind maps help me understand where to put that information in my brain so that I could go to it when I needed to. And it was like, I think they really explained very well how pictures help with the learning process.
Yeah, mind maps are something that we've really incorporated in a big way in our course because it's a more effective way of taking notes. It's a visual representation. And I think you say it very well. It helps you fix in your brain where something fits into the overall subject. And so as part of our syllabus and study guide, we show you literally how to create those mind maps. We give you some basic mind maps to start working with, and you started to incorporate those. And we also recommended to our Florida students that they mind map for this upcoming exam, because really we weren't sure until the very last minute whether or not that test would be an open book exam or just a pure online exam. So there was a lot of uncertainty right up until the end, wasn't there?
Oh yes, absolutely. And there were and that yeah, like the postponement did come with its challenges in the sense that we do have to get back on with our lives at some point. The children have to go back to school. I have to go back to work. I was taking time off of work. Things had to get back to normal. And so I think the postponement, most of it that was hardest for me was still having to carve out that time and really keep your life on pause and make this exam your main priority for another 2 months. So that was the biggest challenge. But I think with the mind mapping, it helped me create that interlocking of the walls. It's a web. It's all interconnected in all different places. And so with the mind mapping, it helped kind of connect those different pieces in a way that made sense to me before, instead of looking at it like they say in a vacuum. The mind mapping helped just bring that out so much that I put it on a wall, my mind maps on a wall that's empty, nothing on it, and then just started to connect it with other mind maps in other areas of law so you could see. And that really helped, I think, a lot.
That's great. That's a great way to do it. You feel a little bit like you're in one of those TV shows, don't you, where they're drawing the arrows and connecting them up. So we mentioned earlier that you faced a lot of challenges, and this is an extraordinary set of circumstances that you faced. Do you want to just briefly share with our audience some of the things that happened to you during this interim time while you were studying? Because I think a lot of our audience thinks, well, everything goes smoothly for the people that pass and it's all easy and there's no hardship. And for you, it was exactly the opposite.
That's correct. It was. And I had to leave my home in Florida to go even start studying, because my relationship with my husband it was just basically breaking down. We'd been together for 23 years and he used to travel a whole bunch. And so when he came home for the pandemic and we were stuck together for that long and not getting him, we were really just starting to break down. And so I went to South Carolina to my father's house to study. And at first I'm like, okay, it's just going to be a week. I'll stay a week. Then it turned into, I had to make decisions about, okay, now this is important. So I stayed there for my study process. And during that time period, we had to put my grandmother into hospice. She was 89. And it was a wonderful opportunity to get to spend the last days of her life with her in the same house. And she was lucid and she was very aware, but she was also, it was her time. And so that did happen. We had her funeral that happened on July 16th. And we had the funeral on July 19th. And so there was a time period where I was, like preoccupied and kind of hard to stay motivated to study or to think or concentrate. And then with all the family coming in and out, it was just, it interferes with your process. So
I think if you said to somebody, a death in the family, a marital dissolution, those are two of the most traumatic events that could occur. And on top of studying for the bar, how did you keep your focus during that period?
Well, it was really difficult. The death, my grandmother's passing, I was able to manage that. I think she always wanted to be a lawyer, and she worked for the clerk of the court, and she was very proud of my goals. And so I know that if anything, just keep going for her. The part where with the relationship divorce, that was the difficult part. That was the part that interfered with my studies because of the emotional, like, it's a divorce. So what's going to happen? Or I wish we could work it out. We won't go to counseling. So it was that kind of stuff where I'm worried about where I'm going to live. When am I going to go back home? Like, it really interfered. But how did I stay focused? It was just a matter of just sheer tenacity, I think. I've come this far and I'm here. I've been here in this town, left my home for 3 months. I didn't do all of this for nothing. I just can't stop. I'm not going to just stop.
Yeah, and you deserve so much credit for that. I know that when people face these hardships, they can wilt, they can give up, they can use them as reasons for not being successful. You didn't do that. You just kept pushing forward.
I listened to all of the YouTube videos and all of
That
your.
was it. Yeah. Okay. So the videos and the emails that we sent and the other materials, was that helpful to you in terms of keeping your focus and helping you to keep moving during these tough times?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I even shared some of your videos with my mom and my stepmom, and they're like, wow, that's a great message. Very encouraging and just really real. It's real life people. And I like the faith aspect too. I do like that you have to have faith in something. And it brought me to where when you talk about if you don't pass the exam, what are you going to do? Who are you going to blame? And just having to somehow to deal with that, like prepare yourself mentally for the fact that you might not pass it. You might not, and you might have to take it again. And I mean, basically they were very inspirational, all of them, and they're very helpful and very supportive.
Well, good. I'm glad we could be of help there. Tell me a little bit about the actual taking of the exam. There's been a lot been written and said about taking the exam in an online format. What was that like for you?
Taking the exam in an online format was cumbersome, I would say, because of we were not permitted to use a dual screen. You have to use just a single screen. And I have a small laptop, like I think a 16-inch. And so with the essay writing part, it was difficult because, you don't have that hard copy of the actual essay. You can't highlight, you can't do the types of outlining techniques that we've always been trained to do and studied to do. And then with the screen, the split screen, the essay, a prompt being taking up half of the screen, and then below where you type, it was difficult because you couldn't see what you wanted to write about without scrolling up and down. And then by the time you did that, go back to it's just, like I said, cumbersome. And I think it took up a little bit more time, and I couldn't see the whole essay in one screen. I didn't even, at the end, we weren't allowed to even read the whole thing, but we said to submit it.
Pretty weird, isn't it? Okay, so definitely important to practice in that online format, right? And then, of course, there was the choice of topics on the Florida multiple choice. What did you think about that?
Yes, there was the choice of topics. They did tort. Yeah, they did do torts. They did trusts, and they did the wills, the civil procedure, criminal. So I thought they did a lot of wills and trusts. I think we had that conversation over email. The trusts were a lot of them. And I think maybe because there were wills and trusts, it seemed like they were double time, but it just seemed like a lot. Every single one that I read, I was another one, And I was expecting a little bit more evidence, a little bit more civil procedure than was on there. So it was just, I didn't really know how to gauge my performance on those trusts ones, because we didn't really have anything to study from, just put it that way.
Yeah, it was a very tough subject and not something they'd ever tested in multiple choice before. So that made it more challenging. I suspect at that point, though, your mind maps were helpful, right? In terms of just thinking about the subject and what you knew about it from the preparation, even though we were thinking about it as an essay topic. But did that help you?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes. I was studying for trust before we knew what the essay topics were going to be. Obviously, we're studying for everything like it's going to be an essay that they normally do in essay format. And so, yes, the trusts, I had gotten that. If I had an essay on trusts, I think I would have made a higher score on the bar exam than I did. But yeah, the mind mapping definitely like solidified all of that information for me.
That's great. Well, tell me a little bit about what it was like this week when you saw the results. So what was that moment like?
Okay, so the way I approached it was I did listen to your podcast or your video about how to prepare for getting your results, waiting. And I can tell you the week before I felt like frozen. And so I was trying to just prepare myself and build that faith and understand that God has put in me in this place, and whatever happens, I just have to have faith. That's where I'm supposed to be, that there's another lesson that has to be learned, regardless of what the results are. There's something that's going on bigger than me. And that was a lot of work. But the day that the results came out, I told myself I'm not going to check them now. I had him training on Zoom with work. And I said, I'm going to give myself solitude during the time when I do check my results. And I have to really have my faith in order and just be mentally prepared for the next steps, whatever they might be. And so I just didn't want to check them right away. And actually, I didn't even check them myself to begin with. My best friend had to do it for me. And it worked. Letting her check them worked. And I passed. So
that's the secret. Have somebody else look at the results. So when she tells you that you've passed, what happened then?
I was just elated. I went into I felt like I was in a dream because I was going to go on a walk just to think and constantly try to get myself to the place I need to be to accept the results. And she called and told me that I told her not to check them right away and to not call me when she did. But of course she did because I passed. But it was just a sense of elation. It was just really a sense of relief, a sense of disbelief. And I was halfway through my walk when she called, and I still had another 30 minutes to go before I could get home and actually confirm. But she sent the picture, and it was just, I just couldn't, everything was kind of like a dream. I felt a little dreamlike. And that's how it felt. Like, it made me happy. I was really, really happy.
Yeah. What did your kids think?
They cried.
Yeah. That's pretty special, isn't it?
Yeah, it was really special.
Yeah.
I tell everybody that's my new birthday. 11/20 is my new birthday because a new life has been born. I get to do what I was born to do and move on with my life. And to be honest, it's a weird relationship that you have with the bar exam. And for me, this time around, my relationship with the bar exam was, you're all I've got. You're all I have. If I do not pass this exam, I'm taking it again in February. This is all I have. Everything else is gone. My house, my relationship. I'm not doing what I want for a living. And so I developed a lot more respect for the bar exam because I did that, I was able to learn it. I think I like that Florida constitutional law stuff. I used to ignore the parts where, they're not going to, I learned this stuff that I hated the most, like the back of my hand, thinking, okay, they're going to throw that at me and I'm not going to know what to say. Of course, they didn't do that. they did do Florida con law, but not the parts that I don't like, which 2/3 vote of whatever house to do this. And so I just really kind of said, hey, you and I are going to become best friends. And I still barely passed it, but I think I gave it the respect it deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk about getting your life back, and I think that's truly appropriate in your case. What advice would you offer? I know that there'll be people watching, Elisabeth, who have taken and not been successful and are struggling in their lives. What would you tell them right now as they consider where to go from here?
I would tell them to keep taking the exam. Do not remove yourself from this world like I did for 4 years, because when you become so far removed from something that's really complicated, and it's learning to think like a lawyer. You do that in law, you learn that in law school, but you can learn to not think like one too if you go 4 years without being in the material, in the industry. So do not stop, because that's what really gets the psychological part of this exam. That's how it becomes so much more powerful over you psychologically, is when you stop studying and you don't try any longer. Even if you do decide to go later, just don't stop now. Keep going. And I would also advise that if you're not having success on the bar exam, it's because there's something you need to learn. Either it's about yourself or it's about where you are in your life emotionally, whatever it might be. There's something, it's all about balance. And when you're not balanced enough, you can't take that exam. You can't stay studying for it. Everything is about balance. And I think that to be a practicing attorney, you have to be able to balance your work with your health and your, finances. And that's, I think the studying process is a lot about that. And so instead of looking at it as some huge mean thing that they're doing to you. Instead, look at it, this is your chance to like make yourself the best person that you can possibly be as best as you can. It's hard. Nobody's perfect, but it's just that it teaches you how to at least get some discipline and become that balanced professional that you're going to have to be in order to practice law. And I think that if you quit studying for it, then obviously you're not practicing that kind of balance either. So.
Yeah, I think that's real wisdom. And I want to just sort of wrap up by congratulating you. The overall numbers for repeat bar takers on this Florida bar exam showed about a 20% pass rate. There were just a handful of repeaters who actually passed the exam. You're one of them. We are incredibly proud of you. We're very grateful to have been on this journey with you. I think it is a real clear marker and demonstration of the kind of attorney you're going to be, the member of the bar you're going to be. I'm very excited to see where your career takes you. I know your kids are super proud of you. Your family is proud of you, your parents. I'm sure your grandmother is smiling from up above at this result for you. And we're just so delighted that you've gotten this result in what's been such an incredibly tough year for everybody and for you, and even tougher years. So please, on behalf of all of our team and staff, we want to just congratulate you and just let you know how proud of you we are.
Thank you, Jackson. And I couldn't have done it without Celebration Bar Review. And I will tell anyone that, all of my friends who didn't pass it, they definitely, I've endorsed you the whole way. I've been very pleased with your program. And thank you very much for what you do for all of these law students and bar examinees. They just need this. They need it.
Well, thanks. Well, we wish you a wonderful holiday season. We know it's going to be an exciting time in your life. Anxious to see what happens and where you go from here. But again, congratulations, best wishes to you. Thanks for sharing your story today. I know that you will have encouraged a lot of people by sharing all of that. And so I'm going to sign off for our audience. We'll see you again soon with another great discussion like today. And Elisabeth, best of luck to you. And again, congratulations.